Welcome everyone, and thank you for joining this webinar. We are delighted to have with us Jeffrey Quick, Associate Professor at the Singapore Institute of Technology, whose work focuses on biodiversity and conservation. Prior to SIT, he was a senior researcher at the National University of Singapore and a lecturer at the University of Queensland. With over 30 years of experience as a fish biologist in Asia and the Pacific, Professor Quick has made significant contributions to our understanding of fish ecology, coastal conservation, and the impact of floating solar panels on aquatic and terrestrial communities in reservoirs. Beyond his research experience, he has led significant projects, including studies on reservoir ecosystems, the impact of floating solar panels, natural water solutions, and mangrove restoration, addressing both carbon sequestration and coastal protection. He also serves on several editorial boards, contributing to the advancement of ecological science and conservation worldwide. Today, Professor Quick will share his insights on urban resilience and its connection to the environment, as well as the role of nature-based solutions in shaping sustainable and resilient cities. Welcome.
Thank you very much, Anna. And hello, everybody.
Let's start with the term resilience, shall we? What is urban resilience, and how is it related to the environment?
Well, the urban resilience is the capability or the capacity of a city to recover from stress. Usually environmental stresses, for example, climate change, or even disasters like the pandemic recently with COVID. And there are very close associations between how a city can overcome these shocks with environmental sustainability. So an example would be through nature-based solutions, you can help to boost the urban resilience of a city because of the mitigation or adaptive solutions that which are approached by a certain city because of the issues that they have. So that's just an example of urban resilience and how they tackle it.
Mm-hmm. And how is it related to the environment? How does it impact on the environment?
In terms of environmental sustainability, the approaches which are used, for example, if there's an issue in the city with regards to heat urban island effect, planning with regards to greenery within the city can help to reduce the temperature, not only physically and physiologically for people, but even psychologically. People do prefer to have nature around them. So all of these things in terms of solutions, mitigation solutions or adaptive solutions can actually help boost the urban resilience of a city. So that's just one example. Again, it depends on the city and the issues that they're facing. A lot of the cities which are along the coast may, especially in Singapore, for example, have issues with regards to coastal protection. With the issues of climate change and the seawater level rising, some of the solutions in terms of having to be resilient includes having natural barriers to the seawater level rising, and that's where mangroves, for example, would be a good example. Reforesting of mangroves along the coastline help to protect the shore, can also help to improve biodiversity, right? Which are important ecosystem services for people. And there's all these things which help to make the city more resilient.
I see, but why is it being talked about so much right now, particularly right now?
Urban resiliency is being talked a lot now, also because one of the major factor is the population. The population density is going up everywhere, in every country, and you'll find that people move to the cities usually because of jobs, and livelihoods, and they move there, and the population density in these areas is going higher and higher and higher. This puts a certain amount of stress in this area, particular areas in the city. So the resources are being taxed. And because the resources are being taxed, many things can happen. Environmental issues, social issues, economic issues, all of these are the pillars of sustainability. And these can be affected because the population is getting bigger and bigger. So there needs to be approaches or solutions to help to control the stresses. So as the example I said, in the event of a pandemic, because you have a higher population, then it means that it's more vulnerable. The city becomes more vulnerable to the kinds of impacts. And again, it all really depends on the city. You'll find that in certain countries, people will move towards the cities, and usually they are closer to the coast. They will go towards the coastline. Singapore is a different example of a country which is small and not a big country where people move to the coast. But because Singapore is small, it itself is a big city, but the population is getting larger and larger and larger because of people coming in. We attract foreign talent. There's a lot of job opportunities. So this means that Singapore in itself is under a lot of environmental stress, through development. And these are kind of the issues that we are hoping to resolve. How to make, I suppose that's why I'm interested in looking at the balance between environmental sustainability and urban resilience. And how then you can balance both of these to help to make things more resilient in Singapore, at least.
Very interesting. And let's stick for a moment to nature-based solutions, because they are being promoted to increase urban resilience, right? And first of all, what do they involve? Because we need to understand, right, what the nature-based solutions are.
Yes. I suppose the difference between nature-based solutions and I suppose what typically is called engineering solutions is that nature-based solutions involves nature, that's the name, and it involves the protection, restoration, and management of the natural and even the modified ecosystems. And these help to address all of the challenges, the environmental challenges, the social challenges, economic challenges, while helping to support the well-being of people and even the biodiversity. And there are lots of different examples how these solutions help to harness the power of natural processes and ecosystem services. For example, the planting, reforestation of trees, right? This helps with carbon sequestration, which is a climate issue. It helps to mitigate carbon dioxide. So carbon sequestration is one. Another example, which I mentioned earlier before, is foresting coastlines with mangroves to help with coastal protection. And all of these help to improve the water, air quality, even provide food in some cases, and to mitigate the climate change. So like heat, for example. So that's pretty much what nature-based solutions are about.
Very important, crucial role. And well, in your opinion, it might be very subjective. What are the main barriers to the effective implementation of urban greenery solutions in cities, particularly?
It is subjective, but I would think one of the major concerns or the main barrier would be space. The limitation of space especially for example, Singapore. We are a very small country, so space is very limited, and there's a lot of competition for land use. So how then do you prioritize what is being for industry, what should be set aside for urban greenery, for example, to tackle issues about heat? So things like that. Financial constraints could be another one. Depending on a country, it does cost a certain amount to come up with certain solutions. And technical capacity and expertise would be another that I would think is very important, and which is why it is important to have collaborations with other countries or other cities who go through similar issues to then figure out what the best approaches are.
Sure, and you mentioned about prioritization, right? If you had to prioritize one type of green-based solution to ensure maximum impact on urban resilience, which would it be and why? How could you justify your choice?
This is a tough question because to me, it really depends on the issues which are happening within each city. There are issues for each city and each country which may differ. And because it changes, I mean, because there are so many different issues that we may be, that a city may be experiencing, then the approaches would have to be adapted to the issue that is involved. What I do or I feel is important is to first and foremost identify what the issue is, the main issue is, at least try and figure out the root issue, and then from there come up with the possible approaches or solutions to try and resolve or try and boost urban resiliency, and to monitor it over time. It is always important to monitor to see if your approaches are correct, and that whether or not it needs to be tweaked so that you always get some sort of feedback and you adjust it based on the issue. Again, because everything is interconnected, the people, the environment, the development of the city, they're so closely linked. It means that you do need to be aware of everything that's happening and to measure everything somehow and to record it, and to try to mitigate at any stage before things get too serious.
Well, too serious. Yeah. Thank you, Professor, for those valuable insights. And before we conclude, I would like to invite you to share your closing thoughts. What should cities pay particular attention to right now if they want to strengthen their resilience? I know that there is a local context, but still, your advice.
I believe that education is very important, and that a lot of the issues that we face, whether it's urban resiliency or whether it is environmental sustainability, comes with, in the sense that any of the solutions comes with education throughout, whether it's the young generation all the way to the older generation, so that people understand what the problems are and how to recognize the problems. Then you have a higher chance of people letting you know what the problems are and what they feel are the issues, and to recognize that it's an issue. And I think that is probably the basic thing that can be applied across any city and in any country.
Just to summarize, urban resilience is about how cities adapt and recover. And it depends in general on a healthy environment. It is so, right? So nature-based solutions offer, correct me if I'm wrong, powerful ways to protect cities.
That can be used to protect cities. And I think that it is not so much powerful. It is powerful if used properly, but it is appropriate, considering that all the issues that we're having are in relation to nature. So we're actually using nature to help us while helping nature at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I think that is a very, at the moment, that is probably one of the best approaches to resolve the issues of environmental sustainability, which will help urban resilience.
Mm-hmm. Thank you for clarification. All right. So, Professor, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and experience. It was a great pleasure. Your perspective was both, I would say, insightful and thought-provoking. I hope that this session provided valuable insights and also knowledge for building resilient and sustainable cities for the future. Thank you so much.
Thank you for the opportunity, and you're very welcome.